From the shadows, the Veltorian Empire had watched Earth for centuries. Their crystalline observation vessels hung in the darkness beyond Mars, cloaked by gravitational distortion fields that bent light around their hulls. To them, Earth was just another entry in their vast catalog of potential resource worlds, primitive, undeveloped, and ripe for harvesting. High Admiral Zex Toril stood on the command deck of the Imperial flagship Inevitable Dominion, his 6 eyes narrowed as he studied the holographic projection of the blue planet. His scaled skin shimmered with the bioluminescent patterns that indicated contemplation among his kind. Such a young species, he remarked to his subordinates. Their atmosphere still choked with carbon emissions, their oceans polluted with plastics, their nations still divided by arbitrary borders. They haven't even established permanent colonies beyond their own moon. His second-in-command, Sub-Admiral Vexnari, flicked her tail in agreement. The assessment teams predict they are at least 3 centuries away from achieving practical interstellar travel. Their theoretical physics still grapples with reconciling quantum mechanics and general relativity. Zex Toril's mouthparts clicked in what passed for amusement among the Veltorians. They still think the speed of light is an insurmountable barrier. How quaint. The Empire had long ago established its protocols for worlds like Earth. Observation until the indigenous species reached a certain technological threshold, then contact, followed by benevolent integration, a euphemism for the complete economic and resource subjugation that had brought thousands of worlds under Veltorian control. Those who resisted faced orbital bombardment and forced evolutionary restructuring. The Council has authorized preliminary contact, Zex Toril announced. We'll begin the first phase of integration within 1 local Earth year. Alert the harvesting fleets to prepare for deployment. What the Veltorians couldn't see, what their advanced scanning technology couldn't detect, was happening 3 kilometers beneath the Mariana Trench, in a facility known to fewer than 200 humans as the Phoenix Initiative. Dr. Elena Chandra stood before the gathered leaders of the initiative, her dark eyes reflecting the harsh light of the presentation screen behind her. At 42, she had already revolutionized quantum computing and developed the theoretical framework for gravitational manipulation that made the initiative possible. The Veltorians have increased their surveillance activities by 300% in the past month, she explained, her voice steady despite the implications. Our deep space monitoring stations have detected communication bursts consistent with their command protocols. They're preparing for something big. General Marcus Way, the military commander of the Phoenix Initiative, stood from his seat at the conference table. The former Special Forces operator had been handpicked to lead humanity's secret defense program after satellites had first detected the alien observation vessels 15 years ago. How much time do we have? He asked, the question hanging in the recycled air of the underwater facility. Elena's expression tightened. Based on their current activity patterns, 6 months. Maybe less. The room fell silent. 6 months before an alien empire that had conquered thousands of worlds turned its attention fully to Earth. 6 months before humanity would face its greatest existential threat. Then we accelerate the timeline, said Director Amara Okafor, the political leader of the initiative. Project Prometheus moves to immediate deployment status. No one objected. Project Prometheus had always been their contingency plan, the final resort if diplomatic options failed or were not possible. For 15 years, the best minds of humanity had worked in absolute secrecy, hidden from both the public and the watching eyes of the Veltorians, to develop technology that might give Earth a fighting chance. The Artemis is ready, Elena confirmed, referring to the flagship of the small fleet they had constructed. The others need final systems integration, but they can be battle-ready in 4 months. General Wee nodded. And the crews? Trained and standing by, replied Admiral Hiroshi Tanaka, the naval commander who would lead the fleet. They've run every simulation we could devise. They're as prepared as they can be without actual combat experience. What the Phoenix Initiative had accomplished was nothing short of miraculous. While publicly, humans struggled with rudimentary rocket technology and celebrated minor achievements in space exploration. Secretly, they had developed technologies that leapfrogged centuries of expected development. Reverse engineered from fragments of information gleaned from covert observation of the Veltorians, humanity had built ships capable of interstellar travel, energy weapons that could penetrate advanced shielding, and defensive systems that might, just might, stand against an empire. Keep the fleet hidden until the last possible moment, Director Okafor instructed. Our only advantage is surprise. The Veltorians must not know what we're capable of until it's too late for them to adapt. The next 6 months passed in a blur of activity. In secret facilities around the world, the final preparations were made. The crews trained relentlessly, technology was refined, and strategies were developed and discarded as new intelligence arrived from the clandestine monitoring of Veltorian communications. On the surface, life continued as normal. Governments dealt with climate change, economic challenges, and regional conflicts, unaware of the existential threat looming above them or the secret defense being prepared below. Then, on a crisp autumn morning, the Veltorian invasion began. They didn't arrive with a dramatic show of force as science fiction had often imagined. Instead, small scout ships entered Earth's atmosphere at strategic points around the globe, landing near major power centers. From each emerged diplomatic envoys, their alien forms causing panic and awe among the unprepared populations. The Veltorian message was broadcast simultaneously in all languages. People of Earth, we are representatives of the Veltorian Empire, a galactic civilization that spans thousands of worlds. We have observed your development and determined that you have reached a stage where integration with our empire will benefit both our species. We offer technological advancement, medical knowledge, and membership in our interstellar community. In exchange, we require access to your world's resources and your cooperation in establishing Veltorian governing protocols. Resistance is discouraged, as it would necessitate forceful integration measures. You have 48 hours to instruct your leaders to accept our terms. Around the world, governments scrambled to respond. Emergency sessions of the United Nations were convened. Military forces were mobilized, though all knew they would be useless against a civilization capable of interstellar travel. Panic spread among populations as the reality of alien contact and apparent conquest set in. Deep beneath the ocean, the Phoenix Initiative moved to its final phase. They're following the exact protocol we predicted, Elena reported, analyzing the Veltorian communications. This is the standard first contact approach for what they classify as pre-spacefaring civilizations. Next will come the resource assessment teams, then the establishment of administrative centers, essentially colonial outposts. General Wei's face was grim, and if Earth rejects their terms, orbital bombardment of military installations, followed by forced capitulation, Elena replied. They've done it hundreds of times before. Director Okafor made the decision they had prepared for since the initiative's inception. Launch the fleet. Operation Prometheus is now active. Across the world, hidden launch facilities activated. In the deepest part of the Mariana Trench, massive underwater doors slid open. From the heart of the Amazon rainforest, disguised platforms rose above the canopy. In the frozen wastes of Antarctica, the ice itself parted to reveal launching bays. The Artemis rose first, a sleek vessel nearly a kilometer long, its dark hull absorbing light rather than reflecting it. It was followed by 12 smaller but equally advanced ships, each named for ancient gods of war and wisdom from various human mythologies. Thor, Athena, Horus, Kali, Susanoo, and others. A symbolic unification of human cultures against an external threat. As the ships ascended through the atmosphere, they remained undetected by conventional radar and even the advanced Veltorian scanning systems. The gravitational distortion technology that the aliens had used to hide their own vessels had been adapted by human scientists to conceal their counterattack. Around the world, The Veltorian envoys were delivering their ultimatums to stunned human leaders when their communications suddenly went silent. For the first time in centuries of conquest, the Veltorian Empire had been caught completely by surprise. Defiance of the stars. Admiral Hiroshi Tanaka sat in the command chair of the Artemis, his weathered face illuminated by the glow of holographic displays. Around him, the bridge crew worked with practiced efficiency, their years of training finally being put to the test. All ships report ready for engagement, his executive officer, Commander Sophia Reyes, announced. Stealth systems functioning at optimal levels. The Veltorians still don't know we're here. Tanaka nodded, his eyes fixed on the tactical display, showing the positions of the Veltorian vessels. Their massive mothership, easily 20 times the size of the Artemis, hung in orbit above Earth, surrounded by a fleet of smaller support craft. The Veltorians have never faced resistance at this stage of conquest, he reminded his crew. Their overconfidence is our advantage. We'll target their communication arrays first, then their propulsion systems. Remember your training. Hit fast, reposition immediately, and maintain stealth protocols between strikes. The Earth fleet moved into position, still invisible to Veltorian sensors. The element of surprise would only work once, and Tanaka intended to make it count. All ships, engage on my mark, he ordered, his voice calm despite the weight of humanity's future resting on his shoulders. 3, 2, 1. Execute. Across the void of space, 13 human vessels simultaneously dropped their stealth fields and fired. Concentrated beams of energy, a technology that Earth wasn't supposed to have for centuries, struck the Veltorian mothership with surgical precision. Communication arrays exploded into debris, propulsion systems went dark, and weapons platforms crumbled. The smaller Earth vessels targeted the support ships, disabling them with equally devastating effectiveness. For 30 seconds, the human fleet unleashed a coordinated barrage that represented the pinnacle of their hidden technological development. Then, as practiced countless times in simulation, they reactivated their stealth systems and changed position, disappearing from Veltorian sensors, just as the alien empire began to respond. On the command deck of the inevitable Dominion, chaos reigned. Alarms blared, damage reports flooded in, and confused officers demanded explanations that no one could provide. Impossible. High Admiral Zex Toril roared, his bioluminescent patterns flashing with rage and confusion. The humans have no such technology. Our intelligence is comprehensive. Sub-Admiral Vexnari struggled to make sense of the sensor data. The attack came from 13 vessels of unknown configuration. They appeared from nowhere, struck with precision, and vanished again. Half our fleet is disabled or severely damaged. Find them. Zex Toril commanded. Deploy all remaining combat vessels. Activate the planetary subjugation protocol. Across the Veltorian fleet, the remaining operational ships began to move into attack formation. Weapon systems designed to lay waste to planetary surfaces powered up, targeting major Earth cities. But before they could fire, the human fleet struck again, this time targeting the weapons platforms themselves. The Artemis led the assault, its advanced targeting systems allowing for precision that the Veltorians had never encountered from a supposedly primitive species. On the bridge of the Artemis, Admiral Tanaka watched as the tactical situation evolved. They're adapting faster than we anticipated, he noted. Adjust attack pattern Delta. Focus fire on their command ship's power core. The human fleet moved with coordinated grace, a testament to years of preparation and training. They struck from multiple vectors, then disappeared again, frustrating the Veltorian attempts to target them. But the aliens were not a galactic empire by accident. Despite their surprise, they began to implement countermeasures, deploying sensor drones that could detect the subtle gravitational distortions caused by the human stealth systems. They're tracking us now, Commander Rice reported, her voice tense, stealth effectiveness dropping to 60%. Tanaka had expected this. The Phoenix Initiative had always known they couldn't maintain their advantage indefinitely against a technologically superior enemy. That's why they had a contingency. "Initiate Phoenix Protocol," he ordered. "All ships prepare for synchronized quantum jump." This was the true secret weapon of humanity, not just the stealth technology or advanced weapons, but something the Veltorians had never encountered because it represented a completely different approach to physics. On Earth, Dr. Elena Chandra sat at the control station of the Quantum Synchronization Array, the culmination of her life's work. Phoenix Protocol activated, she confirmed over the secure communication channel. Quantum field stabilizing. Synchronization at 85%, 90%, 95%. Fields synchronized. The 13 human ships suddenly began to phase in and out of normal spacetime, appearing to be in multiple locations simultaneously. To the Veltorian sensors, it seemed as if the human fleet had multiplied into hundreds of vessels, each firing weapons that somehow bypassed their defensive shields. It was an illusion, but a deadly one. By synchronizing their quantum fields, the human ships existed in a state of probability rather than definite position, making it impossible for Veltorian targeting systems to lock onto them. Meanwhile, the weapons they fired were precisely calibrated to the vibrational frequency of Veltorian shield technology, passing through as if the defenses weren't even there. High Admiral Zex Toral watched in disbelief as his mighty fleet was systematically disabled by an enemy that should have been helpless before them. "How is this possible?" he demanded. "They are primitive. They are young." Sub-Admiral Vexnari, always the more thoughtful of the two, began to understand. "We misinterpreted their technological development," she realized. "They noticed our observation vessels. They'd been preparing for us, hiding their true capabilities." The tide of battle turned decisively when the Artemis and 3 other human ships synchronized their fire on the inevitable Dominion's main power core. The resulting explosion crippled the Veltorian flagship, leaving it drifting in orbit, most of its systems offline. Admiral Tanaka opened a communication channel to the disabled Veltorian command ship. His image appeared before the stunned Veltorian leadership, a human face filled with determination rather than fear. "This is Admiral Hiroshi Tanaka of the Earth Defense Fleet. Your invasion has failed. Your assessment of our capabilities was flawed. We offer you one chance to withdraw your forces and recognize Earth's sovereignty. Otherwise, we will continue until your fleet is completely neutralized." Zex Toral's pride demanded resistance, but Vexnari stepped forward. "We accept your terms," she said, overruling her superior with the emergency powers granted to any sub-commander when the primary leader was deemed compromised. "The Veltorian Empire acknowledges its error in assessment and will withdraw." The battle ended as suddenly as it had begun. The damaged Veltorian vessels retreated, leaving Earth's orbit under the watchful eyes of the human fleet. For the first time in its long history of expansion, the Veltorian Empire had been forced to retreat from a planned conquest. In the aftermath, humanity revealed the existence of the Phoenix Initiative to the world. The secret that had been kept for 15 years was finally brought into the light. How a small group of visionaries had recognized the threat, developed countermeasures, and prepared a defense that saved the planet. Around the world, people marveled at the ships that had protected them, now visible in orbit as they maintained their vigilant patrol. Nations that had been at odds found common ground in the face of the extraterrestrial threat and the shared triumph of human ingenuity. 6 months later, a new Veltorian vessel arrived, not a warship, but a diplomatic craft. Sub-Admiral Vexnari, now elevated to High Admiral after Zex Toral's disgrace, came not to conquer but to negotiate. In the United Nations headquarters in New York, she addressed the assembled representatives of Earth. "The Veltorian Empire has existed for 12,000 of your years," she began. "In that time, we have encountered thousands of species, but never one that surprised us as thoroughly as humanity." She paused, her bioluminescent patterns showing what human xenobiologists were learning to recognize as respect. "We mistook your youth for weakness, your apparent technological limitations for actual capacity. We fail to recognize that sometimes the newest species bring the freshest perspectives, approach problems from angles that older civilizations have forgotten to consider. The peace treaty established Earth as a sovereign entity, recognized by the Veltorian Empire, and by extension, the galactic community. Humanity would develop at its own pace, free from interference or exploitation. As High Admiral Vexnari prepared to depart, she had one final meeting with the leaders of the Phoenix Initiative. "You understand that there are other empires out there," she warned them. "Some far less willing to accept defeat than we were." Director Okafor smiled confidently. "That's why we're not stopping our development. The Phoenix Initiative was just the beginning. Humanity is ready to take its place among the stars, not as conquerors or the conquered, but as equals." As the Veltorian diplomatic vessel departed Earth orbit, it passed by the Artemis, still standing guard. On its bridge, Admiral Tanaka watched the aliens leave and turned to Commander Reyes. "They thought Earth was young," he said with a small smile. "They weren't entirely wrong. We are young, but sometimes youth has advantages that age cannot match." In the depths of space, the message spread from one civilization to another. The beings of the blue planet were not to be underestimated. They had achieved in secret what others had developed over millennia. They had taken the conventional wisdom of interstellar physics and reshaped it through sheer creative will. Earth was young, yes, but humanity had proven that youth did not mean weakness. It meant innovation, adaptation, and a fierce determination to survive that even the oldest empires in the galaxy now recognized and respected. The stars themselves seemed to shine a little brighter on Earth that night, welcoming humanity to a greater universe than they had ever imagined. A universe that would never again mistake their youth for vulnerability.